shady handoffs, evidence tampering, multiple suspects, and insanely fake messages. Over the last few weeks, a lot of people have tried to put together exactly what happened on September 10th. Now, I've made multiple videos covering all of the strange and unexplainable things about this assassination and the subsequent investigation. However, there is just so much information and misinformation that people often get confused watching my videos because they can't understand how all these odd incidents relate to each other. So today I'm going to give you a complete rundown of all the evidence that proves we are being kept in the dark. It doesn't matter what your political beliefs are, I'm going to show you how that shooting will be used to make your life very hard in the next few weeks and months. So with that in mind, let's start with September 10th, right before the shot was fired. We are told by the authorities that there was only one gunman involved in this whole thing, but there are some big problems with that explanation. First off, the dispatch calls placed the shooter in a completely different location from the Low-C building.
Is on top of the building on the far north side, just east of the library, wearing jeans, black shirt, black vest. Just advising, there is another report. Gunshots heard near the library at UVU. They're trying to lock the library down now, still gathering.
She's saying they just got another report of shots fired at UVU library.
Spoke to a student, said that the shooter is on top of the building on the far north side, maybe the CS building or just east of the library. He's wearing jeans, black shirt, black mask, long rifle.
I've got an individual over here who said she witnessed the shooting, and it's different than what she saw from what the news is saying. She's over here at McDonald and would like to meet with an officer that would take a report on this.
Now, as we just saw, the library is much farther away from Charlie's tent than the Low-C building, and if the reports were accurate, multiple gunshots came from that direction. They also locked down that library, and you can hear what sounds like more than one gunshot in some of the better quality recordings that came out shortly after the shooting took place. There's much debate whether there is one shot or more. And this multiple shooter theory feels really legit when you realize just how many people were on the rooftops around the tent. One guy was spotted not on the rooftop of the Low-C building, but on the Woodbury building only minutes before the shooting. We never found out who these people were, and it's absolutely insane how they were able to access the roof with so much ease in a university that has so many security cameras. And yet, despite all these cameras, there's not one clear video of Tyler Robinson shooting the weapon. Now, before you say he could have avoided the cameras on purpose, let me remind you that he allegedly planned this whole thing in just a week.
Roommate, how long have you been planning this? Robinson. A bit over a week, I believe.
Now, I'm going to talk about Tyler soon, but there's still a lot we need to unpack at UVU. For instance, I showed people videos of a very fast-moving drone, or perhaps drones that were flying over the crime scene at unbelievable speeds. Now, people online quickly called it a bug or some kind of bird, but of course, we see the same drones in other videos as well. And trust me, they do not look like birds or bugs. Most people who've worked with commercial drones will tell you that this drone or drones do not look like anything that you can just buy from the market. In fact, this seems more like a surveillance drone used by many different agencies. That's why it almost feels like someone was using that drone to confirm that Charlie got hit, but that's just my opinion. What's not my opinion, however, is the sound of a helicopter in the sky moments before the shooting took place. Of course, no official report or the dispatch calls state the presence of any helicopters in the area, so where did that noise come from? Now, as you can see, there are lots of strange things happening even before the shooting took place. However, things go from strange to downright bizarre after the shooting. And let's start with the fact that while everyone was running for cover, a guy named George Zinn stood up immediately and claimed to be the assailant. I've seen videos of George many times, and it's pretty obvious he knew what was going to happen. He didn't skip a heartbeat before making such a big decision. And what about the people he was seemingly talking to?
No, shoot me! Shoot me! Was that you? We don't know if it's him or not.
How dare you! 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 A monster! What a monster! Such a monster! Monster! A monster! How dare you! Back it up! Back it up! How dare you! How dare you! Screaming monster! Yes!
I don't know. He said he shot him, but I don't know.
Of course, we all know what kind of history George has, but if you're not in the loop, here's a good video explaining his wild past.
Based on a review of multiple sources, George Zinn was a witness to the 9/11 attacks, and he described seeing planes hit the towers. He was also arrested in 2013 for emailing a bomb threat joke to the Salt Lake City Marathon shortly after the Boston bombing. He pled guilty to a terrorism charge and somehow magically only received probation. He was also detained and questioned as a person of interest at the Charlie Kirk assassination on September 10, 2025, but released without charges relating to the shooting. Then Grok went on and made sure that it told you there is no credible evidence that supports claims of his involvement in 9/11's false flag, facilitating Kirk's deaths, or Mossad ties. The main suspect in Kirk's killing is now Tyler Robinson, and he is in custody.
So this man who's been trespassing and showing up at Republican events for decades decides to immediately take the fall for this shooting. Now, you have to be an absolute madman to do that because of open carry laws. A lot of people could be armed at this event, and it would not be surprising if one of them shot George. But then again, it seems like he almost wanted that. And when he failed to die, he ended up getting locked up because he handed over his phone to the police without any protest, even though the phone allegedly contained incriminating images of children. So just like that, this guy gets out of the picture after playing such a big role in this incident. However, you have to understand, George wasn't the only strange man on the UVU campus that day. There was also a guy running straight towards the security team only minutes after Charlie was taken out of there. And what about the guy who had a fake law enforcement badge on and who tried to rip it off and hide it as soon as he was seeing the camera in front of him? We were never told who this guy was, and I don't think he was even questioned by law enforcement agencies. Of course, we later found out through dispatch recordings that local police officers and detectives were told not to interview certain people by the FBI.
As per FBI and FBI, we've been given clear direction not to interview.
So the FBI did not want certain people interviewed by the local police department, and then they also did not show up to interview people who might have seen the shooter. I think you're starting to see why people are criticizing this shoddy investigation. But even if the investigation was bulletproof, it would not have mattered because random people were manhandling key evidence since the campus police and law enforcement took their sweet time in securing the crime scene. For example, after the shot, the scene around Charlie Kirk's body looks anything but normal. One man leans over the table, palms something, slips it off, shoves an item into his pocket, instantly masks it by scrolling his phone like nothing happened. Another man makes a quick grab, questionably puts something into his pocket, bumps into another man, and stealthily passes something along. Moments later, the same guy reappears on camera, running back with a small object clenched in his hand. What exactly were they grabbing? What were they hiding? What were they handing off? Did the cops ever ask these guys? I don't think so, because they were too busy tampering with evidence at the crime scene without a care in the world. Now, I want you guys to see another very strange video. As Charlie Kirk lay bleeding, his security detail leaned over him, appearing to give aid. Then, in the middle of the chaos, he makes the decision. His hand slides up to his meta glasses and he presses the record button. The question is, did he just start a recording, or was he stopping it before anyone could notice? By the way, the famous guy who used Charlie's chair to take out the SD memory cards from those cameras was also magically present at the perfect spot elevated above the crowd to record them when they were taking Charlie to the SUV. Now, this guy works for Turning Point USA, and they claim to have given those SD cards to the FBI.
One of our dear friends that literally from the very beginning started with us and loved Charlie like a brother, he grabbed the SD cards out of the camera afterwards. And there's all these conspiracy videos about, like, why did he grab the SD cards? Well, first of all, they're in the possession of the FBI. Okay. It's not like he took them and like ran off with them. Second of all, I asked him personally, I said, why did you do that? And he looked at me and this was his answer. He said, because I know people can be evil.
The problem is he tampered with evidence from a crime scene. When does anyone get away with that? Also, how do we know that the footage is not doctored? Have we already seen some videos from this incident that seem to defy the laws of physics? How is this chair going through a solid table like that? The answer is, we don't know. Just like we don't know what that trapdoor was doing right next to Charlie's tent. Of course, we can never find the answer to this question because only days later, they reconstructed the whole area for seemingly no reason at all.
Let's see what are they doing, because I see a lot of construction smoke going on. Oh no, they are constructing they are taking out the whole platform where he was sitting, and they are constructing a new one, as you can see. So that's what the change is. And guess what? The killer was there and there was a video taken from here, and that's where you see a killer running behind in the background, and I was like right here when it happened. So,
and we're talking major demolition here. They ripped out and removed the grass that Charlie laid upon after he was assassinated. They then piled on concrete and also started demoing and replacing the ceiling of the hallway Charlie Kirk was carried through on his way to the SUV.
This is the courtyard where it all happened. The university is already making some changes. They're replacing the grass where Charlie Kirk was speaking with pavers.
Also, without the footage from the cameras behind Charlie, we cannot just refute the exit wound theory. But of course, without that lost footage, we cannot prove or disprove anything. Now, so far, we've seen how nothing makes sense when you look deeply into what happened on September 10th. Things, however, only got more confusing as the investigation began. The FBI got to the scene and they found a gun wrapped in a towel with some engraved bullets. And yet, for some reason, they didn't take pictures of where this evidence was found, even though they had so many forensic photographers with them in the area.
7J14, the forensics team has located a weapon just across the street from lot Mike 20 near the Low C building.
Now, it did not take long for gun experts to figure out that this rifle could not have been used to assassinate Charlie Kirk. First off, from around 150 to 200 yards, a 30-06 round will cause a lot more damage than what we saw in the videos of Charlie getting shot.
So today on Dual Liberty Firearms, we're going to be showing you what a 30-06 does to a ballistics gel skull.
The authorities also released some photos and a very low quality video of the suspect, which only confused people more because he clearly wasn't carrying such a big rifle with him. But before anyone could ask any questions, Governor Cox made this famous announcement.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident.
Now, what stood out immediately was that Tyler only gave an implied confession, and someone in his family not only recognized him from those photos, but also convinced him to surrender to the police. Also, they claimed Tyler kept changing clothes while he was trying to assassinate someone.
Yes. So when he's first spotted on campus, he has different clothing on, and then he changes clothing on the roof, and then changed back into that clothing at some point, so that when he was apprehended, when he was arrested, the clothing matched the clothing he had on before the shooting here at UVU.
Doesn't that sound like the absolute dumbest thing in the world? Now, the governor also talked about Tyler's roommate and some incriminating Discord messages.
Investigators identified an individual as the roommate of Robinson. Investigators interviewed that roommate, who stated that his roommate, referring to Robinson, made a joke on Discord. Investigators asked if he would show them the messages on Discord. He opened it and showed several messages to investigators and allowed investigators to take photos of the screen as each message was shown by Robinson's roommate.
Of course, Discord quickly refuted these claims, saying their platform was used to plan the crime. But some newspapers released those messages, and they sound like a police statement. In one message, Tyler says, "Hey guys, I have bad news for you all. It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all of this. I'm surrendering through a sheriff friend in a few moments. Thanks for all the good times and laughs. You've all been so amazing. Thank you all for everything." Now, in addition to the strange language, one thing is clear. Tyler is willingly making a digital confession, and he wants to surrender. But then, for some reason, he does not confess to the FBI.
And anything new on the investigation? You say he admitted that, confessed?
No, not again. He has not confessed to authorities. He is not cooperating.
Also, we hear from his neighbors and classmates, but never from any of his family members, which is very strange considering they were happy to do the right thing. Now, by this point, people online were calling all of this BS. I made a video and most of the viewers were sure that Tyler was just a patsy. I mean, we were given a BS explanation that he was carrying the rifle in his pants and that's why he was walking strangely before the shooting. Of course, this theory failed to explain how he got out of there without a rifle in his hand. And even if the rifle was in a backpack, why did he leave it so close to the crime scene? And why did he assemble it before leaving it behind? His motive was also in question, since allegedly he came from a religious mega household. Well, this is when the authorities introduced us to his trans lover.
Can confirm that his roommate was indeed a boyfriend who is transitioning from male to female.
They also immediately released text messages between him and his roommate, and they magically tied up all the loose ends in this investigation. He gave us the motive.
Robinson, why did I do it? Roommate, yeah. Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out.
In other texts, he tells us how he made the dumb mistake of leaving his rifle behind and why he didn't pick it up.
I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. Robinson again. I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle.
And then he asks his roommate to delete those texts.
Robinson again, delete this exchange.
Even a toddler knows that the FBI can retrieve your data even if you delete it. So why would he leave such a detailed account of his criminal activities? And why in the world is he using words like squad car, vehicles, and my love? I think everyone can see that these messages were released to shut down all the questions about this shady situation. Of course, they only made the investigation look more fake, and it became quite clear that someone did not want us to find out the truth. Now, while people were dissecting these clearly doctored text messages, Charlie's producer, Andrew Colvett, said that we did not see an exit wound because Charlie had bones of steel, and it was a miracle. Let me tell you folks, never trust a guy who tries to use the word miracle to explain something fishy. And clearly a lot of experts laughed at this explanation.
It sounds like a miracle to me. I've never seen it in any of the training, in any of the internal ballistics, and the penetration demonstrations we've done. I've never seen a bullet act like that.
Andrew's claims also raised another question. How did the surgeon tell him about the bullet when we know that no autopsy was performed at the hospital?
So I did do the request. They emailed me back. He did not go in for an autopsy. The death certificate was signed by the doctor at the hospital.
Oh, okay. Can you just do a field clip documenting that?
I'm sorry, 10-9?
Can you just add a step to the case documenting that there was no autopsy?
And 287, I'll be clear the hospital. I need an officer at Timpanogos Hospital to come stage in the emergency room bay.
Jesse just told me that he just got on the phone and Charlie's wife is coming to signature and they're bringing a car over here for arraignment.
Charlie's wife is coming to land at signature, you said?
Sir, and Jesse's going to go to Duncan right now and pick up a car for her.
Okay, I'm a little confused because that's what Corey just said. They said they're landing at Duncan, so I don't know where they're landing, but we will just kind of play it by ear, I guess, best that we can.
Look, they might have performed an autopsy later that day since by law they had to do it within 24 hours. However, clearly the surgeon at the hospital where Charlie was taken to did not perform it, and he didn't have the authority to even make such claims or reveal such information. And in the midst of all of this, Tyler's roommate vanished from their home. Now, I've heard that he might be at a safe location, but I wouldn't be surprised if he never shows up again. And that's just one more strange development in this case. Now, I'm sure you're wondering if there's a cover-up. Who's behind it? Well, of course, we've heard that Charlie was under pressure from his donors and some foreign countries. But I'm not going to talk about them because unlike Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens, Charlie did not reveal anything to me in a private conversation. Instead, I'm going to tell you who is benefiting from this. Days after his death, the government officials started making statements like this one.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie in our society. We will absolutely target you, go after you if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything, and that's across the aisle.
Of course, she doesn't want us to remember that Charlie did not believe in the idea of hate speech. He made an entire career talking about letting people say whatever the hell they want to say, and yet they're using his assassination to go against his own ideals. But things got downright scary when the president made this announcement during his UN address.
I'm announcing today that my administration will lead an international effort to enforce biological weapons convention, which is going to be meeting with the top leaders of the world by pioneering an AI verification system that everyone can trust. Hopefully the UN can play a constructive role, and it will also be one of the early projects under AI. Let's see how good it is, because a lot of people are saying it could be one of the great things ever, but it also can be dangerous, but it could be put to tremendous use and tremendous good, and this would be an example of that.
Of course, he's been having meetings with billionaires who are benefiting from this kind of AI surveillance, and let me just show you what kind of plans they have in store for us.
Dramatically reduce the case of anyone being on campus that doesn't belong on campus, and immediately alert. The second someone pulls out a gun, immediately alert. Use AI cameras to immediately recognize that. But we keep everyone off campus that doesn't belong on campus. The police will be on their best behavior because we're constantly watching and recording everything that's going on. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on. And it's unimpeachable.
So yeah, someone is going to benefit from these random shootings that are happening all over the US right now. Someone is trying to divide us and get us on board with the idea of mass surveillance. And if we don't call them out on their BS, we're gonna lose our basic rights as American citizens much sooner than we think. Now, before we lose our freedom of speech, I want you to share what you think about this entire situation. Can you see now why a lot of other people keep talking about this cover-up? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. As always, thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope to catch you in the next one.